So we be back in Tuscany, and I will repeat over and over and some of the things that I already said about other wines when we talk about Sangiovese. You know that Chianti is a tricky wine region because it's a huge, vast region, and when you look for quality, you need to dig properly. Comparing, for example, to Piedmont, to the Langhe area, where I think that there is an average quality that is really high. Whenever you take a Barolo and a Nebbiolo, it's hard to find a bad one, but it's actually quite easy to find a bad Chianti, to find a good Chianti, or Chianti that is not industrial. This is mainly due to the vastity of the region. We're talking about like 60 kilometers for 40, where like Barolo and Barbaresco are less than 6 miles or 7 miles. Hundreds of winemakers, a lot of industrial winemakers, and then the problem to deal with this grape variety called the Sangiovese, that historically was not even an historical grape variety in central Italy. There are some studies actually that tells that probably in northern Tuscany and southern Tuscany there were more Canaiolo than Sangiovese. Then for a matter of quantity, was a grape variety that was actually resisting a bit more to diseases. It came actually more common, and now Sangiovese is possibly the first or the second more common grape variety in Italy. But finding a good one, it's not easy. I usually stick on 3-4 winemakers when we talk about Tuscany. We have Pacina, for example. We had Giovanna Morgante from Le Bonce, which I really like. There is for sure Pergole Torte and Montevertine Winery, which I cannot put in the wine club. It's a wine that now costs $200-300. Sometimes I put it in the Legend and Collector's Club when I find it, but it's not easy to find. And then is my friend Edoardo Sdereci. We are talking about father and son that are working together in such a nice way, which is kind of a unique thing, because usually there is always a conflict between father and son. And the way actually the father is actually looking a bit more about tradition, and the son is trying to make a bit more experiment. He wouldn't consider himself a modern winemaker. He would like actually use the tradition as a tool to make experiments. And so the idea that there is a good relation between father and son makes, in my opinion, a perfect balance, because you have to understand that the wine production is related with time. So when you actually have a gap of a generation, usually you break up a tradition that was there maybe for hundreds of years. So, you know, you always have conflict with your parents. So it's much easier to find grandchildren and grandparents that are working together than father and son. So that's kind of unique. This is La Casina, and is a Sangiovese with a blend of local grape varieties. I think there is a bit of a low Canaiolo and Colorino. What I like is that Sangiovese is a tricky grape variety, because it's a grape variety that tend to have like some bitter finish. It might have a bit of a tannins. You might have a bit of a volatile alcohol content. It's a nasty grape variety. It's not like Merlot and Cabernet. Whenever you plant it, you have a decent drinkable type of wine. So having a good Sangiovese is something not easy. And I usually like to judge a winery sometimes for their entry-level type of. This is not exactly the entry level. It's actually the second entry level of the wine. They make a beautiful Chianti called Grosso Sanese. That sometimes I put it in a tier 2 wine club. And now we're gonna open it. The cork is actually fine, and immediately see if you want to recognize the traditional Sangiovese from the color. There is a color that is not. I don't know if you can actually have it here, but it is a color that looks like more a Pinot Noir like color. Usually this means that it was not blended with Cabernet and Merlot, for example. And the nose is beautiful. The nose is typical. Well, no, this is typical violet and licorice, which are actually the two type of description that you have in a wine, in a good Sangiovese or in a good Nebbiolo. Nice acidity, nice tannins. Actually, quite a mature tannin. 2009 was not an extremely warm vintage, with a little bit of finish at the end. This is an ideal type of wine that goes with salami, with any type of cured meat and medium-aged seasoned cheese. Thank you.